this is the story about Kenneth Allen Shoup. He was part of the Greatest Generation, and he's the handsome guy there in the middle. And that's my grandpa, and I'm trying not to cry, so I'll do my best. He was one of 13 children. He was from a very poor family, and mostly he got farmed out to his aunt and uncles when his mom and youngest sibling died during childbirth. So there's not a lot of pictures of Shoupy, but here he is in his Marine Corps uniform in 1945 before he got shipped out to the Midway Islands at the very end of World War II. And he was only 17 years old in that picture. He lied about his age. Shoupy did a few years in the Marine Corps and then was in the Army and retired as a sergeant major. And then he also went on to open a post office in our small town, retired as a postmaster, had a butcher shop, and sold that. And he was always doing something, helping somebody. And everybody knows Pat makes the best hog maw. And if you're not from where I'm from, then you won't know what that is. It's really gross, but Pat makes the best. Anyhow, January 1973 is a very super important month. And that's because that's when I was born. So there's me with my Pap. I was more like his daughter, his youngest daughter, than his granddaughter. And I was always wanting to be wherever Pap was, that's where I wanted to be. And here I am, obviously pretty tiny, and we were getting ready for the winter because where I'm from, that's how we heated the house, was for big furnaces in the basement. So a lot of work. So we were always in the garden or doing some kind of outdoor activity while my brothers were watching cartoons. I'm lucky because I've actually had my grandparents for most of my adult life. I lost my great-grandma maybe 16 years ago, so I had her till I was in my 30s. And my grandpa was diagnosed with cancer in 2014, and they believe it's a late-stage leukemia brought on by Agent Orange exposure. And like all things, there's a season, and Shoupy's season ended in June of 2015. And I knew I was going to be speaking at his funeral, but I wasn't quite sure what I was going to say because every time I sat down, then I just became a blubbering idiot, and then nothing came out. And so Heather Marshall, who you may have met the last time we had an event, I called her and I'm like, Heather, what am I going to do? Because I can't do this. And she's like, all you're going to do is remember to think, I still have everything you gave me, Pap. And when you're writing, you're including your sensory details and objects and foods that you might have liked to eat or mementos and things that were intangible like work ethic and so on. And you just sit down and that's what you focus on first. So I got on a plane, and by the time I landed in Baltimore, I had the story of my grandpa written. And this is his story. Sorry. From the Pennsylvania farmlands to the sands of the Midway Islands as a Marine during World War II, and later as an Army soldier from the from the shores of Italy to the plains of Missouri to the mountains of Kentucky, North Dakota, and Germany, he stood strong. To the jungle and the rice paddies of Vietnam, where he received a shiny Bronze Star for his heroic efforts in saving his friend Colonel Beatty, who's that guy right there, when their helicopter crashed in enemy territory. Luckily, the colonel and my Pap, they came home just fine. Along the way, he met my Nan. She's a pistol. And a few years later, it would take my Uncle Jack to go down and find out where my grandpa was for my grandparents to get back together. And anyhow, 4 kids later, and 63 years has passed since the time that photo was taken. 50 years back in Pennsylvania. 5 grandkids and 5 great-grandkids have been added to his crew. As he battled cancer, he never really complained. Pap's always kind of a take-it-easy guy, even when you knew he didn't feel well and was in pain. Until the very end, he stood strong. I still have everything you gave me, Pap. Courage, hard work, doing what's right. My hard head, my long toes, and my bad veins. This all came from my Pap. But most importantly, my Shoupy taught me how to drive. And, anyhow. Before I could barely reach the pedals, Pap would let me drive this old white Chevy truck over the mountains. when I could finally touch the pedals, I took out my Aunt Carrie's chicken coop one day. But don't worry, none of the chickens were harmed. There's none in there at the time, and Pat fixed it up good as new. Then we had a Ford F-150, and we used to fly over these hills on Sunday, going from church to this restaurant on Lincoln Way with a big, huge rooster out front. And my poor Nan, she was usually half sick before we got to the restaurant because I would yell, "Go faster!" So of course, Pap's gonna listen to me. And then after that, we always had to stop for groceries on the way home. And yeah, Pap and I used to do 180s and wheelies through the grocery store. Then we tapped a dog food display one day, and Nan said she wasn't going with us anymore to the grocery store. So then we had a little Chevy S10 pickup, and I needed to learn how to drive a stick. So my Pap is the one who taught me how to do that. And after a few smacks across the head, and "Damn it, girl, give it some gas, leave up on the clutch," I learned really quickly how to drive a stick. So everybody knows Shoopy's gone through a lot of trucks, and these are just a few of the trucks my Pap has been through. But those trucks in the grocery cart are always the things I remember most. We used to joke all the time we should open up a driving school since we could drive better than everybody else. So if anybody's been in the car with me, then you kind of understand where that's come from. But anyhow, Shoopy never said "I love you" much, but you always knew that he did. A few years ago, we started ending all of our conversations with, "Watch the ice, I'll talk with you later." So watch the ice, Shoopy, and I'll talk with you later.